Hey, welcome to Fiber Lakes Garage, the home of random projects. We have lists, we have Jeeps, we have trucks, we have food. You name it, we got it. So help out the channel by just hitting that subscribe button. And if you like the video, go ahead and like it. And if you really like the video, like it and then tell a friend. But stay tuned, enjoy yourself. I'm gonna let you go because I got stuff to do. Hey, what's going on? Happy days, happy days. All right, it is finally time to actually work on the Tacoma again. But what we're gonna do today is actually put on some rock sliders. Christmas has just passed and Santa Claus was fantastic to me, mostly because I took matters into my own hands. So what are we gonna use to be able to put sliders on this thing? Well, first, let's look back on some of the research that we had to do before we actually are going to do some sliders. All right, so what are all the reasons why I'm actually building these myself? Well, trying to do the research, trying to get a design, what works good with a Tacoma. Since I haven't built one before, you got to do a little bit of research. Now, there are tons of fantastically awesome fabricators out there that are actually building them and trying to sell them for some money. And they look fantastic. There's one that's TIG welded that looks like a piece of art. Now, they might be worth the money that they're asking for it. I ain't got that kind of money. I'd much rather put it towards tools. Now, speaking of tools, let's look at all the tools that we have on hand that we're going to use to build these sliders. Now, granted, a lot of people are not going to have some of this stuff. I have built this up over the years, but this is what we got. All right, so we have a JDM bender here. I did get it from Woodwood Fabs. Also picked up a swag off-road attachment, and it hooks up to the good old-fashioned Harbor Freight air over hydraulic ram. Now, it does use a lot of air. It's supposed to have at least 120 psi, so make sure you have a nice large capacity. I got an 80 gallons sitting over there in the corner. It works just fine. So anyway, we're going to see how this thing works here in a little bit later. And also some maintenance stuff for your actual bender, because you do not want to destroy it because they're not cheap. Now, some other things that we need to do, we gotta cut the tubing, right? So we got our saw. Probably seen that one once or twice before. It is a cold saw. It cuts through steel like butter. It is awesome, made by Fine Tools. One of the better investments that we actually made for the shop. Now, Christmas time just came. Guess what we picked up? That's right, we got a plasma cutter. Now, this is just a Cut 40. It's actually put out there by Jegs. I'm sure they just rebranded something else, but we're gonna test that out and see how that goes. The other thing is, you know, we got the welder. All right, it's just my small Lincoln. It is a 110, but if you bevel everything and actually do it properly, you can put enough heat in there to actually get it to stick. Still looking for that 220. So Lincoln, again, if you're watching, I can use a 220 welder. Anyway, and then basic hand tools that you're gonna need. You're gonna need a drill. You're gonna need some extra batteries, because this thing eats up batteries like nobody's business. Also, you have flap discs. We got cutoff wheels, tape measure, gotta have that. Safety goggles. We're gonna need some WD-40 or something like that, so we're not burning up all of our bits. We're going to need to paint it afterwards, and also we're going to have to clean the tubing, because the tubing that's sitting over there against the wall actually comes with a coating on there so that it will not rust in shipment. So you got to clean that off. If you don't, it could bind up your bender and actually mess up your dies, and you don't want to mess up your dies. This one right here is like 300 bucks, and I only have one die. Now, one thing I would have to say though, if I had to do it over again, I would have gotten a 180 instead of a 90. 180 has only come in handy a couple of times, but it would probably have been worth the extra couple bucks in order to get the 180 bend rather than the 90. Now, I do believe that's a 6-inch die, so it uses 6 inches to actually make 90 degrees. Anyway, something else that you're going to need. It's not really a hand tool, but it is a tool. But this right here is a notcher, and it's also from Woodwood Fabs. And you put a drill on this side, you put your tubing on this side, get whatever angle you want, and then you're able to notch it. Lubricate everything because you're going to be using this guy a lot. Most people can actually use it with the flap wheel and stuff like that. It works great. I like to use that because it actually takes off a lot of material at one time, so you're not going through flap discs like crazy. So we need to take some measurements, and then once we take the measurements, we need to get the truck out of here because I don't want to put any splatter on the truck. That, and I need the room. Shop's too small. Anyway, let's go. All right, so now we're laying it underneath the truck, or at least beside the truck, because I can't get underneath it because we don't have enough ground clearance yet, and that's where the lift is going to come in, and the bigger tires. But that's maybe next week, hopefully, if it actually comes in, we'll be able to cover that later. But let's go ahead and get some sliders on this thing to make it look a little bit better, and also give you some protection because I don't really want to take this thing off-road with my rockers exposed like this because it is part of the cab of the truck, and they're a pain in the butt to actually fix. So let's see, we want to measure. All right, hopefully you can see that. Now I'm gonna take my regular tape measure, and you always have to try to figure out exactly how long you want to actually get in there. Hey look, the spaceship's here. Sorry, it's the RAV4. The electric stuff makes so much noise, it's ridiculous. Anyway, you gotta see what kind of tire you're gonna have, where the circumference, if you're whether or not you're gonna be cutting the body. In this particular case, we are not. So obviously you do not want the slider any further back than this right here. Now if you look online, a lot of them come out with like 80 inches. So if it's 80 inches, or maybe an 86, maybe I'll do an 86, and that'll be end to end. Then you have to look at how you're gonna mount it. Now in this particular truck, it is a C channel for most part of the way. And right around this area here, there's a little bracket on the inside that you take off to be able to get your arm up, because we need to mount them way up here. Now we'll be putting a bracket on the inside, not just threading the actual frame. I have put some on that basically you just take a tap and you tap the frame and the other stuff. I don't see that being as strong as it needs to be. So I want to put a plate on the other side. So we'll figure that out when we get to it. Anyway, I think that's enough talking. I want to start building. All right, one thing that you probably already know that I do like to make small little sketches. Now, this is not going to be a artist drawing, artist rendering or anything like that. I'm just doing some basic measurements and also basic drawings, illustrations, just to be able to figure out exactly where we're at and how far we need to go. So anyway, so this is pretty much what I came up with. So 86 for the main loop, and then some kickers. Very simple, very easy. So we'll take you through the whole step by step. Started, and I need to pull the truck out because I got my measurements and I don't want to mess it up. I'm gonna be throwing some sparks. All right, let's go. All right, so we're ready to make our first cut. Kind of got my saw out. I got my 1 3/4 DOM tubing out. It's about 120 wall. That's what we're gonna be making it out of. And the first one, if you remember, my measurement was 86 inches. So I marked it off 86 inches. I'm gonna build one and then build the next one, just like it, in case I have to make any changes. So anyway, the first length, 86 inches. Let's get it cutting. All right, so I got my first pole. I'm gonna go measure it on the truck just to make sure my measurement's right. You always wanna, at this stage, make sure your measurements are right. If you look right there, that is one clean cut. I love that saw. All right, so we got our drawing out, and give me a pen. So we need to make 2 of these. So the more measurements you make and the more documentation you do, the easier it's gonna be to actually make 2 of them. So anyway, that's my idea around it. That's what we're gonna do. Already got this one done. I have this one next, and this is gonna be the fun part, because this is where all the bending happens. All right, so we're getting ready to start bending. We got our GD square bender. Always wear gloves because this stuff gets nasty. All right, so we got our tubing here, but first we gotta wipe it down. So I always use brake clean to actually wipe it down, and always get the non-chlorinated stuff, just in case you're gonna weld it. We're gonna be welding this stuff, so get the non-chlorinated. We don't want you to die. So anyway, just grab yourself a little shop rag and some brake clean. Look at all that nastiness. All right, so we got that off. So we're gonna stick it into our bender. And really, we're gonna have a problem because it is heavy on that side and I'm by myself. That's where these guys come in. There you go. All right, so we do have our bender. First thing you wanna do is take your pin out and take your sleeve out. This is what's gonna hold it in there. And then before you actually get the tube in there, actually I'm gonna use some WD-40 for this one right here. And actually most of your WD-40 It's not a lubricant. This is actually, it's water dispersant 40. So this is like their 40th version or whatever, but it's water dispersant. It will get rid of the water, but in a pinch, it'll help, it'll do the job. And what you really want to do is just coat the die, and that just kind of protects your tool. Should always protect your tool. So in this particular one, I want 45 degrees, which would be from 0 all the way to 45. I got my little pointer, got my stuff set at 0. All I gotta do now is put air to it. All right, so a couple things here, extra things you're actually gonna need: a dial degree gauge. Will actually work really well. It's got a magnet on one side. The thing, really quick square. You can do a 90 degree, you can do a 45. We want to do a 45, so we can keep this guy here. Whoops, there you go. We can put it here, and then once the bar goes that way, you're at 45. Sometimes the needle might move or whatever. This is just flexible, so just in case, you got a quick square. So let's get this guy bent. All right, so if you look down here on my gauge here, I'm a little bit past 45. So it's like a 46, 47, because this steel is gonna wanna try to bend back out. So then it'll allow it, hopefully, in theory, actually stop right at 45. So we're gonna take our quick square, and if I get it oriented right. So this is pretty much straight across our tool, and it goes out. That's about 45-degree angle. All right, so let's get it out. All right, so we're getting ready to bend our second bend, and what I basically did was lay this down on the ground. The initial bar is 86 inches. I brought it in 9 inches, and the reason why I did that to start my bend is because this is a 6-inch die, and I'm going to take up 6 inches to be able to do my 90 degree. So, and I put 9 because we're going to do a 90 and then go into a small kick out to where it's coming out and then going back in. So I just added 3 inches. We can fudge it a little bit as long as your measurements are the same. And if you do make measurements, put it on your board so you know for the second one. All right, so we're going to put a 90-degree turn in this guy. We're going to use our indicator, and just in case, we're going to use our quick square. All right, so you grab your quick square. We're going to be able to run it up here, perpendicular, and see if it actually gets to a 90 degree. Should be pretty good. All right, so what we got to do now is actually get the opposite bend. So this is going to come out and then come back in and then go forward. Now we want to have this bar parallel to that bar, but have the kick out here. So this is at 45 degree. This is 90 degree, and we can actually put a small angle towards the end. It'll be underneath the truck. You're not really going to see it, only because this die does not go more than 90 degrees. The 9-inch mark that I had last time, and then I added another 6 inches because of the 6-inch die, and we're going to try it out. We're going to find out and see whether or not those are the magical numbers. All right, so I only did about 25 degrees, only because I probably should have did this bend before I did that bend, but hey, it's all right. We're going to trial and error it. We're going to make it happen. We're going to make it look good. As long as you weld enough stuff up there, it'll look good eventually. All right, so what we got? All right, hopefully audio is a little bit better right now. I kind of videoed how I was bending all this, but I got a lot of video, not a lot of audio, so I'm going to have to work on that. But this is basically one slider that is almost finished. You still got some gussets to actually put in through here. But this right here is actually parallel all the way through, and you do that by just grinding down either end. As you can see, ground that down. There's a little bit of lip right here. Now I do need to put like a 3/8 plate around here, weld it on, grind it, make it smooth just so dirt and stuff doesn't get down inside. That should be able to reach up to the side, and if it doesn't, grind it off. You're fine. So anyway, so this was a 90-degree turn, and this one right here turned out to be about a 25-degree turn. This right here, so it kind of comes out and then comes in. So if the rock comes up here, it should kick that and kick it away from the tire. All right, so one of the things that I did do to actually make sure that this is parallel, I did get my little measurement tool here, make sure that it was zeroed out. So this one is 141, and that's about 140. That is good enough for government work. All right, so I guess the next step here will be actually start welding this together, but I gotta make one exactly like this one. So if you take all of your measurements, and you should be able to replicate it over and over and over again. All right, so I got them both bent and trimmed just a little bit. I still got some more trimming to do. They're a little bit off, but they're not off enough for me to bother with it. So yeah, start grinding and notching. All right, so I got both of them looking almost identical. I think we're in good shape. Anyway, I'm about to head inside. It's getting late and my neighbors like to sleep. So I'll catch you guys later, maybe tomorrow. We'll put some weld on it. And one thing about welding, you don't want to do it late at night right before you go inside because sparks fly everywhere. It is molten steel. So if you have like a bag of trash, a piece of paper or some, sawdust, something, that can actually start on fire. You want to wait at least 35 to 45 minutes after finished grinding and welding and stuff like that before you actually go. I'm just going to clean up a little bit and then I'm going to head inside and see you guys tomorrow. All right, good morning. It is a brand new day, and so take a flat wheel and actually just kind of get rid of all the scale and everything like that because you don't want that to contaminate your weld. You want this as strong as possible. Also hit some weld through primer on there. Got this stuff from O'Reilly's, and I'm gonna let that dry for a second, then I should be able to weld it in there. You want the weld through primer on there. You want just something to coat it so it will prevent it from rusting as much. All right, so I'm gonna grab the welder. I'm gonna pull it over there. We're gonna go ahead and tack these together, and then I want to have everything welded hopefully by the end. Anyway, let's start throwing some more sparks. All right, we're gonna do this real quick because this video is getting really long. But this is the notcher that I was telling you about earlier. It just has a basic metal hole saw kit adapter on it. So now we get to notch. So I'm gonna take my slugs that I just picked up, and what I'm gonna do is actually mark it. Now there's 2.5 inches in between the two rails, so I'm gonna mark this. This should be 3 inches. I'm gonna go in 1/4 inch on either side. And that's basically what I'm going to be whacking off. All right, a couple things you have to realize when you're actually doing the other side. You need to make sure that it is straight from one side to the other. Down, there's one there, there's one there. And though I just lined up one side and the other side, they are nice and even, so we should be in good shape. So now we should be able to drill through this and actually have a good notch. A little bit of WD-40 and drill. All right, just hit it with the grinder a little bit just to be able to clean off some of the slag and stuff like that. I still need to bevel this. All your stuff needs to be beveled to be able to get good penetration and actually good weld, especially since I only got a 110 welder. So I'm gonna bevel this real quick. I might take it upstairs to the belt sander and make it a lot easier. I only got a whole lot more to do. So I'm gonna keep doing this and we'll catch you in a few minutes. All right, so we're out here in the sun now. Got the truck out here. As you can see, that kind of lines up okay. Kind of lines up with the tire so that if your tire hits it, that should hit it and we should be all right. It is pretty close to the pinch weld of the actual cab. You want to leave at least 1 inch or 2 because it will flex. I mean, it is steel, and it's pretty heavy duty, but it will flex, and you don't want it to come off a rock really hard. It's kind of a long wheelbase and smash into that. All right, so I got the other one to finish up. Put in the little braces in there, and we should be in good shape. Then we'll finish them up. Then we'll show them what it looks like. But so far, I think that'll look pretty good. Anyway, I'm gonna keep working, and we'll see you guys in a few minutes. So now I'm just gonna burn all this through. Also, since you are gonna be doing a lot of it, wear a jacket, wear some gloves, make sure your mask is charged up, because if it's not going to be auto darkening. So anyway, as long as the material is touching the table, you got a good ground. So anyway, get good penetration, put plenty of heat. This is only a 110, and this is a 120 wall, but it should work. It should be strong. So let's go. All right, so that's basically one slider almost pretty much done. Just got to sand it, I got to cap the ends, and then I got to build my kickers. Hopefully in the next week or so I'll be able to get the additional tubing so I can actually make the kickers, and then they'll put that in a different video. So stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe and go ahead and hit the bell so you'll know when those are coming out. Sorry, I tried to make it all in one video. It just didn't work out with the time period that I had and the amount of detail that I wanted to put in it. Yeah, pretty much I've started doing the math, and all in with this was a couple $100. I think it was like 120 or so for the tubing, which got to get a little bit more. I did have some plate that was left over from another project, so that's not that bad, but it's I think it's a whole lot better than paying the $1,000 of some of the ones that I was looking at. Now, is this the same quality as those? Heck no, not even close. Some of them, you know, TIG welded. I'm using a regular MIG, and it's not even that big. And actually, that's the main reason why I'm not welding the other one right now, because I got to let that thing cool down, because that's the price you pay of having such a small welder. It does do a fantastic job, in my opinion. I do love this little thing, but this is pretty much the max of what it can actually do. If I get anything thicker than this, then I'm going to have to bump up to a 220, go over to my buddy's Eric's and borrow his. But I think this is going to be good enough for what we need to do right now. Just need to sand it, paint it, cap it, throw it on the trunk. So anyway, until next time, take it easy, have fun. I'm going to go ahead and knock these out real quick. Hopefully my leaf spring will be here today. Still under FedEx, so we'll see. And hopefully we'll have a lift on it, so that it'll be easier to mount these darn things. So I'm not crawling underneath there when it's so low, because I don't have a lift. Anyway, until then, take it easy, have fun, be safe, and Happy New Year. Later.